Hello, everybody, and you're welcome to special podcast series on 40 lessons in life, love, and loss. I hope you've enjoyed the episodes from the series so far. Of course, my name is Adeshola Balogun. I'm your host, and I've enjoyed talking and speaking to and also learning from a lot of people who are celebrating the same milestone as I am this year, 2024. On this episode, I have a guest. All my guests are special. I was going to say special guest, but I have a guest. I've known him since we've known each other since we were teenagers, and so I mean, basically the essence of this podcast is to bring people who I know that are real, and I know that are willing to share their stories and can be and are okay with sharing their inspiring journeys as well. On the podcast today is Bode Akinbiyi. Bode and I have. We have a special friend. We have a friend, a mutual friend, and from there we now became friends as well. So I'm happy to bring Bode on the podcast. Welcome, Bode. How you doing?
I'm good. Hi, Shola. I'm happy to be on your podcast. And
yes,
all these special.
No, not special. Welcome for a very special friend. Yeah.
No, I'm really pleased to be on. Thank you. And obviously, when Shola, we spoke about doing this, I immediately jumped on the opportunity.
Yes, yes.
Well done, and appreciate you having me.
Thank you. As I always start with my guests, I would always ask. So how would you say before we get into Bode Akinbiyi, now that you're a father, a husband, and doing all those great stuff. Let's talk about growing up. What's your earliest childhood memory about? Would you say you enjoyed childhood? You enjoyed growing up? What would you tell me about that?
Of course, thanks. So obviously, I grew up in Nigeria, like all of us did, or most of us did. So my family were quite close. So my memories of my childhood, I think we're really close because I've got three sisters. Obviously, my parents, my dad's late now. Obviously, we'll come to that later on. But my earliest memories, it's just, we used to gist a lot. Me and my sisters.
You are the only boy.
Only boy and the last born. And please don't say that. No wonder, because that's what everybody says that. And that really gets to me. No wonder. But anyway, so my earliest memory is just that we just used to get along, just gist a lot. That's one of the things I remembered. And my mom was like a proper mother hen, she just looked after all of us. My dad was like a proper man kind of thing, where he just at an arm's length, love you from an arm's length. You never really sort of showed that affection, alpha male kind of thing.
I think most of them were that way.
Yeah, so but my mom, she would show us love. She would not like my dad didn't love us. I'm just saying, in terms of expressing
it. Expressing.
My mom was just like very good to all of us, and we would all just gist and just be happy together. That's my earliest memories. And obviously, if she was going to be strict, the story now. You know the way moms are. She didn't have to. She didn't have to say much. Her face did all the talking. But it was. I would say I had a good upbringing and childhood. I don't have sort of regrets or anything like that.
Being the only boy amongst girls, how did that pan out for you? Like in terms of first of all, in terms of being expressive in terms of your emotions, or did apart from your mom, apart from your mom being the mother hen, did your sisters also like extend the same protective? Were they also protective of
in a way, yes. In a way, yes. Yeah. So I'll be honest. I think I was looked after by all of them. They had that. My baby brother kind of thing. And to be honest, even till now, it's still a bit annoying sometimes. When they call me, I'm like, I'm a grown man now. You guys need to stop this now.
I'm somebody's father.
You understand now?
Yeah.
So, but I think in terms of being expressive with emotions, maybe that had an impact on me, because generally I'm much more expressive with my emotions as a person and everything. Maybe that had an impact because I grew up, with women or ladies or anything like that. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, they definitely were quite protective and, would look after me properly in that sense, But again, I think growing up with them made me quite domesticated as well, because our culture, our culture is now, things are changing now and all of that. But I think that had an impact on me in terms of cleaning, tidying up, and just making sure that everything is okay. I think that had an impact on me, basically.
Okay, so how are you able to balance? You had mentioned that Popsy was the man's man. Like how did he try to balance you out? Or you're like, okay, if he says now you're hanging out with there are too many women around you. Yeah, come, let's go somewhere and man you up.
Absolutely. He used to try and do that, and honestly, the times he would do it, I would cry, because I would just always want to be my mom and my sisters. I remember this particular time where, because he used to work in haulage business, and that was kind of business he ran. So I remember one time he used to work with Guinness at the time. So I remember one time he took me for some meeting, and it went on till late. And I remember just crying because I just wanted to go home. And this was this man trying to say to me, Omo, this guy, you need to be with me. You're a man, you're a bloke. Stop hanging around with the ladies, But me, I just wanted to be home. That was me. I just wanted to be at home. So there were times he would do that, and there were times he would, obviously say things like, let's go out, or maybe just want to be a bit more. But for me, because I was just so used to be my mom and my sisters, that was it. But what's quite interesting is, and don't know, maybe we'll get to this later on, is, as you know, I'm a football fan, and I didn't get that from my dad. I didn't get that from him at all. My dad would not even watch football. What my mom used to watch football, which is quite funny. My dad never watched football, hardly ever watched TV, just used to watch the news, and that was it. So this is quite interesting the way they all panned out.
Wow, so to our listeners, Bode is an avid Arsenal fan. Bode is an Arsenal fan. So our mutual friend Sheye Olutime is also a diehard Man U fan. So I remember the early. In fact, my first interaction with both of them was when they would argue
about football.
Argue about football. And I'm like, what is going on? So it's quite interesting to hear that you got your love for football from your mom. Is your mom also an Arsenal fan?
Oh yeah, she is.
Oh, wow.
I wouldn't particularly say I got it from her.
Okay.
My love for football actually came from my neighbor back in then in Nigeria, a long time ago, growing up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He I saw a very lovely guy. I was a neighbor. He used to watch. I'll go to his room. He'll have posters of football all around. He had this big book of football. That was where my love for football came. And then obviously I watched football at home. And then my mom likes sports in general, so she would watch track and field, Olympics, and all of that. But I just became addicted to football, and my mom liked football. My dad. Zero.
Couldn't be bothered. Any particular reason why you picked Arsenal?
Football?
No,
Arsenal. I think it's very easy. Most of us that support Arsenal, most people that support Arsenal from Nigeria, is Nwankwo Kanu.
Yes.
So when he joined, that was when I migrated there. Then obviously fell in love with Thierry Henry.
Fell in love with Thierry, and then they took it. Okay, nice. So let's talk about. Did you ever get to a point where you felt, okay, maybe I think I need to start weaning myself off this the women who are watching over me too much. I need my independence. Was there ever any like sort of did you ever have that epiphany that hang on a minute, I think I need to become my own man now?
So not really, because I didn't see it as a problem. So it wasn't because I didn't feel like, it made me weaker or nothing like that. I didn't feel like I needed anything. It just felt like it was genuine love from my family. So I didn't feel like I needed to be anything else. The only thing I would say is every now and again, I'll be honest, I wish I had a brother, an elder brother, not because I don't love my sisters. That's not, but that just, like a bloke to look up to, that kind of thing. But that I never felt. Maybe when I started to get to when I finished secondary school, then I wanted a bit more independence. So maybe if you want, you could call that the epiphany time where I started to think, okay, I'm my own person now, going into uni and stuff like that. But I didn't see it as a problem, so I didn't feel it's something I had to wind away from, if that makes sense. So
yeah. So in the search for, in the wishing that you had like an elder brother, I guess it was also partly, it could also be maybe because you felt, Popsy's way, your dad's way wasn't a way, a kind of way you wanted to follow. So my question, and my follow-up question will now be, did you seek out for mentors, father figures? Sometimes we tend to not do these things consciously, like because you get like, you wish that, I wish I had like an elder brother that I could, talk to, speak with, and all that. Did you feel you consciously looked for father figures / big brother type people around your immediate environment? Because you talked about your neighbor.
Yeah. So it was unconscious.
Yeah.
It was very, very unconscious. I didn't, actively seek out.
Yes.
No, I didn't. But maybe exactly like you rightly said, it's probably something that just happened unconsciously. So, for example, my neighbor, he used to come to our house, and because he liked football, I like football. It was just a natural sort of attraction kind of thing. We just
to him
like that. So I gravitated towards him, and as I sort of grew up, finishing secondary school, getting into uni, I started, again, maybe certain people took interest in me and just felt okay. And then when I saw that kind of interest, again, I gravitated towards them. I've had a few people who have been very impactful in my life, especially growing up in church as well. Some people that I will call mentors, definitely.
Yeah.
And obviously there were guys as well. And in a way, I looked up to them. And so I think it happened unconsciously is pretty much what I'm trying to say. It happened unconsciously. Because when we get to further into it, I'll say a few things, but cool. It happened unconsciously is what I'll say.
All right, cool. All right, fine. So one thing when I met you, one thing that I always admired about you, I'm not sure if I ever talked about, is your faith. Like you are quite unashamed, in talking about how you are a believer, you're a Christian. I mean, I think you were in the choir at a point, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So how did that come about, in terms of how did you get to? Because I mean, I'm talking about when we were still teenagers. So how did you come about finding your faith in God that early in life?
So if I start from the end, I think I look at my life now and I say it's based on three things: faith, family, and I love football. The three F's. Faith is such a big part of my life, and I came to. So I would say I grew up in a Christian home. We would go to church together. My dad was a deacon in his church. My mom would all pray together and stuff like that. So we was a Christian home in that sense. Yeah. But I really came to Christ when I was around 15. That's when I remember the story very clearly. I was in secondary school, and I think I
What
was in
secondary school did you attend?
I went to Dubolu, Federal Government College of Dubolu.
Yes, Federal Government Dubolu. Yes,
I went to Dubolu, and I remember that evening so very clearly because I was supposed to be going for a social event that evening. So this is, I don't know if, for our listeners, I don't know if you remember how it would work in terms of when SS3 students finally leave, and then the SS2 students are the sort of
the new kids in town.
Yes. So we had this social event, after this yesterday had gone, and I think it was the first big one, and I remember I was going to go for it that evening. And this guy, one of my friends, he just said to me, "Listen, we used to call it band meeting, basically fellowship in church that evening at the same time of the socials." And I'm thinking, guy, I beg, leave me. Don't put anything I do in my head. I'm going for this fellowship. I'm going for this socials. And I was like, don't disturb me. And he kept reminding me throughout the day, and the evening when I remember I was about getting ready to go, he reminded me again, and I just felt this real strong conviction not to go for the socials and go for fellowship. And interestingly, the message that was preached in church that day was about extra time. The preacher used the analogy of football actually to talk about extra time, that we're living in extra time and, and stuff like that. And we just need to make the most of our lives and so on and so forth. And the message really got to me. And then I, in quote, officially gave my life to Christ. And since then, it's just been, obviously there's been ups and downs, in this journey of faith. It's never linear. And I think that's the whole point, right, of our walk of faith. It's not always linear. There's a continuous ups and downs, peaks and troughs and all of those types of things. And, so yeah, that's my journey of faith. And like you said, for me, it's such a big part of my life. And I would say that coming to the UK, it challenges your faith. It does, because a lot of the things that we learned growing up, you begin to see different things. But for me, I always say different perspectives and interpretations of things. But I always say to people that, listen, for me, regardless of what anybody says, my experience is, when the Bible says that what we have seen and what we have handled is those very things that we present to you. So for me, I've experienced this. I know it's real. And if anybody thinks it's not real, that's their own sort of, that's your own experience. But my experience is my experience, and I believe so much in it. And so my life is anchored, on that really. So yeah, that's been my journey, to be honest.
Amazing. I mean, I like I said, because I also gave my life to Christ early, but for me the dilemma was trying to be a Christian and still be relevant around your social circle.
That's all.
But but I see. I mean, up until meeting you. I mean, I'm not, like I said, I'm not sure if I've ever told you this, but up until meeting you, I'd never seen someone who could handle that like really well. Where, I mean, that, man, this kind of topical issues we can't talk about. I mean, you know where I stand concerning it. I'm going to, I remember one time Shay and I are going to meet you in church before, because I think you had so for me, I'm like, you know what, if he can do it, like if he can do it and not necessarily want to go with the crowd, I mean I can. So shout out to you for laying a very good
thanks, man.
example. Yeah. So you have a career in finance. Is that what you always set out to do? Because I tell people that I didn't know what I was going to do up until maybe 5 years ago or 6 years ago. Like oh yeah, this is what I think I'm called to do. But were you one of those people who you are still dilly-dallying? Okay, I want to be
absolutely not.
I want to be. So why a career in finance?
I fell into it. I'm not even going to come and say anything different. I'm not anybody. Nah, bro. No, it's again an interesting story. You know when we all wrote Jam, right? I remember then And my dad, I still remember it was on a yellow piece of paper. My dad wrote the three or
Choices.
four, what's it called, the choices that I had to go for. He
Yes.
said, I think it was geology, engineering, I think medicine, and then I know, right? I know. I'm liking the fact. So something along those lines. I remember that still very clearly. And I remember, growing up then, once you start to get towards the end of, secondary school, what do you want to be? I used to say, I want to become a geologist. I didn't even know what a geologist used to do, right? I didn't know what a geologist did. But because my dad had said that, that's what I thought I was going to be as well. Sure. So how did I fall into finance? I did banking and finance in Unilag.
University of Lagos,
yeah, University of Lagos. And it was just a combination of, well, this is what your JAM score says. This is the course you can do, basically.
But did you like what you were studying?
So did I like it? At the time, yeah, it was cool actually. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Funnily enough, it was okay. It was okay. What I didn't like was my secondary school, so I can say that confidently, because again, in secondary school, you split into science. I think they call it social sciences. Then I was in science class. I used to do physics, chemistry, biology. Because they
said science students were the ones that have science now. The arts and social science, yes, maths and social sciences they don't want.
They don't know everything. No, do you understand? So naturally, and my mom, she's a principal, so she's a teacher. She was a teacher. She did chemistry, math. So there was absolutely no way I was.
No way. Like
I'm going to go between coins and those kind of things. No chance. No chance ever. So basically, I hated physics, chemistry, and biology so much. I used to, in fact, it's a miracle that I passed WAEC and ECO at the time. I don't even know how I passed those things.
Wow.
Honestly, because I didn't like it. I remember from maths. Every time we started a new topic, I'm there thinking, okay, right, this is a new topic. Let me try. By the time they finish that, by the time they finish the right here, like this, or more.
You're lost.
I just check and say, this is not for me, man. So yeah. But at uni, I enjoyed doing, because it was a bit more sort of practical. You could understand it a bit more and stuff like that. So yeah, I enjoyed uni, the course, more than secondary school courses. Definitely.
Yeah. I would glean from. I mean, I want to segue into my own experience in university. So I'd done JAM 3 times, spent 4 years at home. So at that point, I was like, at this point, anything they give me, I would take. So I did the urban and regional planning in the Federal University of Technology at Korea. And the thing is, I told myself that I am not going to have a career. Like, I don't know how it's going to happen, but I know that I'm not going to do anything with this course. I just needed the 4 years to be over so that I can break free from shackles of my dad and everything. But I told myself that because funnily I wanted to also do geology. But the reason why is I had a guy in my church. He's working Chevron. Brother Dayo Adeogba. Shout out to him wherever he's. Like, I will see how he would dress. He's coming in from the US today. He's gone to Argentina tomorrow. I said, no, I must be a geologist. If that's how they're traveling, and
he said, I won't travel.
So I didn't get enough credit and all that. I didn't meet up the JAM score. So then I said, this is what is available. I said, man, at this point, I don't want to spend another minute in my house. And so that's how I studied urban regional planning. I mean, nice one.
So, you know what?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. I'm good. I don't. That's what I would say.
I was just going to say that, and I'm sure that's the experience of a lot of people.
Right? Yes.
You get into uni and you just do those courses. I mean, that's conversation for another day. My wife and I will have these kind of conversations. So that at age 17, 18, you're asking people to choose a course that can determine the rest of their life. Who knows what they're going to be at age 17? Who knows that? I mean, we are going to be 40, this year. And you're thinking, there are lots of people that I have met, 40, late 30s, mid 40s, and they still don't know what they want to do with their lives.
Still trying to figure out their life.
17, 15, 16, 18 year old to make that kind of choice.
I literally knew what I was going to do in my life 5 years ago. 5.
Look at that.
Like I just feel like I just feel like I was just coasting. Yeah. And so which leads me to my next question, that how some people, they just want to see, man, I'm just doing this course to please my dad, and then after I'm done, man, I'm going to do something else. But you still followed on that path. What about finance, despite the fact that it was thrust on you? What about finance made you say, nah, I think I'm going to stick with this line?
So when I finished uni, again, there was this obsession to want to do stockbroking. So I did that initially. Maybe there's an unconscious impact that all of my sisters were working in banks.
Oh,
right? So at the time, so by the time I finished, so more working banks now at the moment, So maybe unconsciously that was it. And again, I think it's a case of bank jobs were kind of readily available at the time.
Readily available, yes.
So when I say readily available, it was probably the
lowest entry,
you just get into that. And as I said, for me, my principle is enjoy where you are on the way to where you're going.
Where you're going, absolutely.
So for me, it was what has kept me is because I'm enjoying what I'm doing on the way to where I'm going. So this is not the end all be all. So the fact that I've stayed in finance all of this time is not because it's the end of, and then as well, it pays the bills. It does, you meet people, you learn new things, So it's the experience of learning new things, making impact, and then you realize that, actually, I've got skills in doing what I'm doing, and I do it well. So why not continue to develop yourself in those areas? So I've gone from stockbroking, relationship banking, and now I work as a financial crimes risk manager. So, and that in itself is a very interesting field. So it's part interest and part what was available at the time.
Right.
So.
Amazing. Yeah. So let's delve into love. I mean, Bode is married to a very beautiful woman, Kemi, and they have 2 beautiful children. Let's talk about. I mean, so Bode lives in the United Kingdom. How long have you been in the UK
now? 13 years now.
13 years. Okay, cool. So you went for your master's, right? Okay. So did you what was the plan? I mean, it's going to be a very was the plan to fall in love? Was the plan to fall in love? Your plan was, man, his book I want to buy,
No chance.
His book I want to go and face. So
my story was that because I had a job in Nigeria, it was a decent job, and I was working in stockbroking at the time, and I wanted to change jobs, and it wasn't particularly working out. So speaking to different people, they were like, why don't you do your master's? Obviously it would enhance your profile and so on and so forth. I said, okay, all right, let's give it a go. And I remember leaving the country, when I was planning to leave the country, I remember I had some friends here, and they said to me, once you come here, when you finish your master's, get a job. And I remember that conversation. I would say, no, I don't want to get a job in the UK. I'm going to come back to Nigeria. I was even quite nervous leaving the country because obviously that was my home. That's everything I knew.
Everything you knew.
Yeah, so for me, that it wasn't the plan. It wasn't the plan. But I also come here, do a master's, and then go back to Nigeria. In fact, I remember as I was finishing my master's, started to, speak to a few people back home. Okay, what are the opportunities and so on and so forth. So it was never the plan. No,
the plan. Yeah. So how did you meet your wife?
How did I meet my wife? It was literally in the last week of her school, because I was doing my master's, she was doing her undergrad.
And both of you in the same
University Hall, yes. University Hall, yes.
University Hall. Okay.
Yeah. So we literally met in the last week, and I'm laughing because if she hears this, her version of the story will always be different from mine.
Of course.
But I'll keep it short. We met in the last week of uni through a mutual friend, and the rest they say is history. But it was her last week. So yeah, wow. She was graduating that week, we met, at a mutual friend's place. I would say we exchanged numbers. She would say we didn't. Yeah, let's just say I got a number.
Don't worry. I believe your story. So it's cool.
But things took some time before it eventually crystallized to what it was, or what it eventually became.
What eventually became, yeah. I mean, you are also a father. So how has fatherhood? Because we talked about your dad, literally our parents forcing. I'm using forcing for lack of a better word.
Because they had good intentions. Let's be clear. Exactly. They had good intentions.
No, of course. I mean, we are both fathers, so I kind of so sometimes I think I look at maybe what my daughter is and I realize that okay, this is what my dad meant, but I guess it is the way they communicated. So I want to throw this question back to you. I mean, I'll touch on you being a father and you being a husband. But my question is, as a father, do you one see how does the decision your dad made, does it make sense to you now? Two, do you feel like you will do right by your kids by allowing them to be more, by giving them the free hand to choose their life and career paths? So that's
okay. So
question.
So I think I'll start by saying that being a father, I understand now how protective our parents were.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. Yes. It's something that you can never really understand as a child. When we were,
I think it was borderline fear. They were afraid of something that I do not understand.
Yeah. So for me, I understand, all of that, and so which is why I was saying that whatever my dad had written at the time to do geology and all of those things, it was out of a good place because he wanted the best for me. I understand where they came from and why they did what they did, and I completely see why they were doing that. Now to the second, I hope that answers the first question.
Yes.
So the second question, will I do right by them? By God's grace, I will. Okay. Yes. What we are doing now, my wife and I, Kemi and I, is that we're trying to, as much as possible, identify their giftings and their talents
and their
now.
Strengths, yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And their strengths now. Because for me, I believe that is so important. In that shell, that body, in all of us, there are gifts and talents that God has placed inside all of us, and it's just a case of finding it out and using it, to benefit this earth whilst we're still here. So what we are doing at the moment is just to continue to identify those things. And now the fact that my child, my son, my daughter, they have this gift doesn't necessarily mean that it's that gift that they're going to use for the rest of their life to be all that God has called them to be. It could be something else as they grow older, right? But identifying those things and allowing them room to express those gifts. So I'll give a few examples. My son, he is, because Kemi and I, we sing, we're into music and stuff like that.
Yes.
He's very musically inclined. He actually plays the piano. And he's
nice.
He's quite good playing the piano. And when he's singing as well, he goes into harmonies and melodies, and he just always wants to sing. Right?
Sing, yeah.
That's a gift. And so we're trying to develop that. My daughter, on the other hand, she's absolutely lovely with art. And then she also is into gymnastics. So what we're doing is creating space for those gifts to develop,
right?
But at the same time, making sure that they're going to school and learning and all of those things. So it's, for me, I think the biggest lesson is create that room and that space for them to grow and develop that talent and see where we get to as they grow.
Where we get to as we grow older. Absolutely. I feel like with us that had fathers, parents who were quite strict and they literally enforced, like they were literally they were living life vicariously through us, and they didn't give us space to. Because I remember growing up, I used to draw, I used to write. I used to sing. And my dad would say, man, drop that.
Forget all that one.
Forget what musicians don't have money. I'm like, I feel, because at the end of the day, what I do is still art. It's still a form of art.
Yeah.
If it was honed, those skills honed early enough. My daughter, is keen on art, just like your daughter. And then I'm taking her to art clinics, art exhibitions, and all that. And I just look at myself and I'm like, maybe if they knew better, they would probably have done that. But so yeah, that's noteworthy. So Bode, as a husband, how would you say marriage has changed your mindset, changed your perspective on life? You've been married for how long?
It's going to be 10 years, or 10 years this year. Yeah.
Oh, congrats. So how would you say marriage has changed your perspective on life, basically? Like, that's another episode on its own, Abi.
You can see I'm clearing my throat.
That's another episode on its own, but just give us the concerns. I mean, because every person I've had this podcast as a man has something to say. So let me hear your own take.
I think the interesting thing is, people have to understand that marriage is two people from different backgrounds coming together, trying to live life together, and then bringing up children. It's a big thing, right? It's a big thing. It's a big thing. But I think what I have learned is to love my wife, and to fight for her love. And love is not just that,
that's butterfly in your stomach kind of thing.
It's a combination of both, actually. It's a combination of both. There's a butterfly and all of those warm, fuzzy feelings and all of that. But above that, love is a decision, right? So you decide and choose to love, right? So for me, with all the challenges we may have had, the good and the bad times, I choose to love my wife. And I think that's what keeps the relationship going. And as well, I also believe that having things in common is really, really important, where, you guys share the same values, you guys, enjoy the same things, because as life goes on, if you don't have those things that join you guys and bind you guys together, you just realize that quickly you can start to drift apart. And you don't really want that. So for me, I think it's just learning to love, choosing to love, and fighting for my wife's love every single time. What I mean by fighting for her love is there will be times where things don't particularly work the way we all want it to work. But to be there and say, I'm with you, we're in this together, know. And we have, I think for me, what I enjoy the most is the conversations I have with my wife. We have loads of conversations. Like, we have many, many deep conversations about life, love, family, society, and all of those kind of things, and both of us, because we're sort of deep thinkers, so we have lots to talk about, and the only thing I'm still trying to get her to do is to like football. That one she's not converting yet, so I still have some work to do there.
Okay, yeah. I mean, let's hope that one day she will just shock you and say, what?
I mean, she's been with me to the stadium once or twice, but
it's just out of so that they will not say that we don't support.
You did not go.
Don't go, right? You mentioned that both of you sing. So are you? Is there any plans to take that to a professional level? Do you want to? Have you had any albums out?
We have some ideas. We do have some ideas. Yeah, we have some ideas of what we'd like to do, because again, and she's a much better singer than I am. Like, Kemi's voice is amazing. No, I'm not even joking. Like, her voice is just amazing. So we have some plans. I really can't say much about it now, but we do have some plans to see where we can go with that. So there's some of those thoughts in the pipeline.
Okay. I look forward to hearing your body of work. I mean, so in the we are gradually winding down on the pod. Okay. We're going to talk about loss. I mean, you mentioned that your dad passed. How long ago did he pass?
It's about 7 years now.
7 years now. Okay. So
Yeah.
what and where were you when you were told that your dad died?
Shola. Whew. I was here in the UK, man. I was here in the UK. I remember that day so very clearly. He was, yeah.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah, okay. He had the heart problem, angina.
Oh wow. Wow.
Yeah, and I remember that morning, it was a Sunday morning, my sisters had called and said, they were, sort of taking him to the hospital. And I mean, he had been on medication for the heart problem, so we knew that he had a heart problem.
Yeah.
And I remember that morning, they called and said he was going to the hospital. And the painful thing for me is the last I heard of my dad was him screaming in pain. Wow. That's the last I heard. It was just,
okay, you were on the phone?
I was on the phone, yeah. And this was when they were taking him to the hospital. Yeah, so I remember just thinking, but obviously at that time, I was just hoping that everything will be fine, right?
Everything will be fine, so
during the day, we kept getting some updates. Okay, he's now in the hospital, And then that evening, my sister just called and she was just crying and said he was gone.
Man.
It was painful. It was painful because I felt like, so growing up, I had a good relationship with him, but it could have been better, right? I feel like it could have been better with my dad.
Yep.
And I felt like I was getting to the age now where, as a man, now I want to, have that relationship and have this
with you. I want
to. Do you understand? Relate with him. Like, okay, now I have a wife, I have children. I'm a man. So we're at that level. I felt like we're just starting to build that.
So, but amazing. So we're on the last lap of the podcast where we talk about loss. I know you mentioned that you lost your dad. How long ago did he pass?
Yeah, that was 7 years ago, February 2016.
Wow. I mean, tell me about that day, if you can remember.
Yeah, I do. I can remember very clearly. It was a Sunday, and so my dad had a condition or problem called angina, and he'd been living it for some time. He was on medication, so we knew about it. He would go to hospital and stuff like that. But this particular Sunday, I think he was just in so much pain. And I remember my sister calling me, because my mom was with us in the UK at the time. And I remember my sister calling us to say, look, Dad isn't feeling great. He's not doing very well. He's being taken to the hospital and stuff like that. And I think for me, one of the biggest pain that I feel every time I remember this whole episode is that the last I heard of my father was him screaming in pain. He was just screaming because I could hear him in the background, so I couldn't even speak to him. And so he was taken to the hospital. Throughout the day, they kept giving us updates. But I remember in the evening, it must have been around 7 p.m. in the evening, my sister then called and she was just crying and just said, in fact, she called me. Kemi and I were in the kitchen. My mom was with our daughter, Fiyikewa, in the living room. And she just told me, and I just, goodness me, the pain, because I didn't expect that to happen, and then my wife just rushed to the living room, just went to grab, my daughter from my mom, and it was just, it was, and I think for me, go on. So go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it was literally the same thing that happened when my dad passed 5 years ago. But then it's amazing because I mean, from my dad too was a man's man. He was not the type to want to. And just like we spoke off camera, where that thing where you're also a dad, you are somebody's husband too. You wanted to compare notes with him that, so what would you do if you were this? And I don't think, I mean, I wish I spent more time speaking to him, so my dad had a stroke. He had a stroke, and at least he had a stroke where he couldn't remember anybody. He was paralyzed from the neck down. I mean, thank God for rehabilitation. We got to spend like another about 4 years with him. But I feel like, we were robbed. And then the crazy part is, when we were young, he was so distant from us. But as we grew, as he grew older, he tried. I mean, but I won't lie to you. I tried to be close to my dad. I tried, but that connection wasn't there, man. I mean, it just feels like he had pushed us away too long. Like it wasn't even like I tried to be close to him, but I couldn't. I just couldn't. I can't explain why.
I think our stories are kind of similar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember we used to call my dad every weekend, and sometimes when we call, he's in a hurry to get off the phone. And I remember before I left Nigeria as well, because we were not living together, I would go and I'll visit him, and sometimes I remember going to visit him, thinking I want to spend some time, and my dad was like, "Okay, right. So Chetan, okay, all right." Like, okay, it's time to go. And I'm thinking, I've come to spend time with you. Like, why are you like? And I don't think I don't think he meant it. I don't know. Maybe that's how they were wired. Where just didn't know how to. I don't know. So for me, that is the regret. And as we said offline when we're talking, is that where I felt like as I was finally becoming that man, my own family, just to sit down with him and have conversations that we would really cherish together. And I know my dad really loved me because, again, as a typical African man, he was very proud that, I was his only son. Right?
Son, yes.
So that thing where, and he used to say, "You're the one that's going to carry my family name." He used to be so very, like chest up with that kind of thing, So for me, obviously, I felt that sense of, almost responsibility and pride again that, okay, this, but I just felt like the time where I could now really, really do that with him, sit down with him, talk about life, marriage, children and all of this kind of things. That's when he just left, because he actually never saw my children. My daughter was barely 2 months, when he died. So he never met her because he was in Nigeria.
Okay, it's like your mom came to like came to see.
Now you know the story of Omugo.
Wow.
So she came around to help, because we had our daughter in December 2015. So my mom had come, I think maybe around that time as well, So, and then February 2016, he passed. I remember the weekend before, he said, "Can you send me a picture of your daughter?" And, because it was like, you never know with these things. And I was like, "Well, Daddy, don't worry." That kind of thing. You're thinking, I will send it. Yeah, I will send it, And I never got to send it to him. So,
wow.
That's regret in that sense.
Yeah, I have a similar story. My dad was, he would just call and say, "I want to see you for something." And then you go there and he doesn't have anything to say. Like, he just literally just wants you to just sit down in the same room with him. So one day he calls me and says, "Where are you?" Ibolowa. I said, "Oh, I'm at the office. When are you come to see me?" I said, "I'll see you on Thursday." I said, "I'll see you on Friday." He said, "Why can't you see me tomorrow?" I said, "Daddy, I'm busy. I'll see you on Friday." And my dad died on Thursday.
Oh my
God. Like every time I think about it, I'm like, what was I like? I wasn't doing it, but I just figured that.
What were you doing? What were you doing? That was so important.
You understand? Like sometimes I tell myself that because I just figured it's just another day where he just wants to sit down and be with me. I have things to do. I'm busy, So I absolutely can relate. Where we think we have so much time with them, and so how did that period? How was that period for you? I understand, for the women, it would be a heartbreak, but how was it for you, that season of loss, for your entire family and for you?
So for me, my principle in life, one thing I try to live by is not to live in regret. That's one thing I try to do. But this is one area of my life where I struggle to shrug off the regrets.
Yeah.
Right. So that period for me was a time where I just kept thinking, what if, what if, what if? What could we have done differently? What could we, that was, so that it was, that's all that I felt all that time. And every time I still think about him now, it's always with that sense of, I wish things were different. I wish things were different. I wish things ended differently. So, yeah, I don't, they talk about people grieving in different ways, Yeah, it was tough. It was tough because there was that deep pain in my heart that I just wish, maybe I went to Nigeria or he came here, he was with my family, he lived with me. All of those things is just what keeps flooding into my mind. But alas, Scott will have it, he's gone. Because my dad, he's a good person to have conversations with, he's a proper, you have conversation with him, he loved his politics, you have conversations about life and stuff like that, So I felt like I could build on that a bit more, and I never really got the chance to do that as much because again, obviously, I'd left the country, so it was just over the phone, and so for me, it was a tough time, but one that I spent doing a lot of regret, if I'm honest.
Yeah. Do you think your not being in the country made you closer, or do you think that sort of widened the distance between both of you?
I think, I don't know, maybe somewhere in between. I don't think we got closer. No, I don't think we got closer, and I don't think we necessarily became apart. I think it was just apart. It just was
like it was status quo.
It just was. And you mentioned that your dad called you and you said, "Oh, you're busy." I think for me, I lived my life a lot like that. Okay, I'll call him at the weekend. It was just autopilot. I'll call him at the weekend.
So whatever anything, we'll speak over the weekend. Yeah, okay. So the weekend calls were like the scheduled time. I mean, I can't speak to you during the week.
It was scheduled time,
At least,
Wow. To be honest, he wouldn't even call me during the week. He would. It was just that was just what we did. Sundays or Saturdays we would just call. Calls. Sometimes he would text me during the week. But Sundays was when we just call in the evening. My wife and I will call. We'll just talk to him. That was just what it was. And it's funny sometimes when we call, Bode, I'm just listening to the news. Can you call me back, please? I'm like, okay, Dad. All right. It was interesting. Yeah.
Wow. That's so amazing. Thank you, Bode, for being candid and honest with us on the pod. I mean, lastly, let me ask. As you look back on the past 40 years, what's the one or two or three things you would want to say, or you would say has been the common denominator about your life in the last 40 years? What would you say?
Oof.
This last 40 years has been, or this last 40 years I was, I ask all my guests this, so think deep.
That's a difficult question to answer, I think for me, the last 40 years, I think it's just been, first of all, I'm thankful, right? Because I look back, at my life, where I was and where I am today, and I'm just filled with gratitude. I think God has blessed me with an amazing family. My wife and my children. It's just they are my life. But I think it's constant discovery and finding out more about the way life works. Because life is a school. It's a school where you just continue to learn. So I'm learning about people, learning about, and using all of the experiences that I've had, for example, with the way things happen with my dad. I'm ensuring that doesn't happen with my mom, where, you make out time for her, you're there for her, what she wants, you listen to her, So I think for me, it's just learning from experience and most importantly, being true to myself, being me, the person God has created me to be, finding out my gift and my skills and how I can use that to the benefit of the people around me, of the spaces and places God has placed me. And I think in a way that's where I am, so that's what I would say if I can sort of summarize it that way.
Okay, so I mean, as with now we've looked into the past. Now we look into the future. What's the next 40 years? What's the next 40 years like for you? What are you thinking of building on, consolidating? What's the plan? What's the plan for the next 40
That
years?
one is slightly easier. That is slightly easier.
Yeah,
Being the best version of myself, right?
Man.
For me, I think that's the biggest thing. And I've seen that. I've seen people struggle over and over and over again with identifying who they are, what they want to do with their lives, and so on and so forth. For me, it's consolidating everything that God has blessed me with, and to bless this world, the people around me, with that gift. Because there's a gift that God has given to me, when I know the things God has blessed me, and I just want to be the best version of myself for my wife, for my children, for my family, for the friends and the places God has placed me. So whatever I find myself to do it with the best of the ability God has given to me. Obviously, that translates into different things. I talked about the music my wife and I were considering. They translate into different areas, which obviously I'm not going to go into now.
Of course.
It's just using my gift and my skills and everything God has blessed me, so that by the time I leave this earth, I know that I have given the best of myself to this earth. Because there was a comedian in the UK. He died, and he was not a Christian or anything like that. But I was just reading his what do they call that thing now? His biography.
Biography.
And all the eulogies that were coming in for the guy, and I just thought, you know what? This guy was a comedian, but he served humanity. He gave his best to this world. And now people are looking back at all the things. So what I want to do with my life is, in the next 40 years, is everything that I have inside of me, that God has placed inside of me, deposit it here on earth. So that by the time I'm leaving, my children will say, right, Dad gave us this. Dad blessed us with this. I'm talking about the material things. I'm talking of,
of course,
in terms of, the gift and the skills, his personality. And I've given it to this world, because we are all, passing by here. That's the reality, and we will all exit at some point. And so that for me is my plan for the next 40 years, such that I give my best, really. So
Thank you so much, Bode Akinbiyi, for spending time with us on the pod. I've learned so much. Some things that I didn't even know. I mean, I'm putting my shoulder. I have nobody over 20 years. Like I'm just like, wow. So, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for being vulnerable with me, and of course, by extension, our listeners on the pod. And happy 40th birthday. I wish you the very best in the new decade. God bless you, bro.
And thank you for having me as well, Shola. I've really enjoyed this conversations. I think it's been, I've just enjoyed chatting to you. And like you said, we got so carried away. But it's really good. So thank you for having me.
You're welcome, bro. Thank you.